ordered to pay VHT, which is stands for VHT Studios.
Is VHT still even around?
They're a photography company. Yeah,
still
yeah.
around? I don't know. Some places they
and
things happen.
Zillow's ordered to pay VHT $2 million as listing photo saga concludes. This is according to Inman. We'll link it up, of course.
I feel bad for them though.
If you want to read the whole article. So this is a 6-year lawsuit.
You've spent more than $2 million.
I know, and that's where I'm like, VHT, originally they were awarded $8 million. Zillow went and fought that, and then it got down to $4 million. Then eventually through the court system, they got it all the way down to $2 million. You can read the specifics on that. I'm not going to go through, the whole thing, but Zillow's obviously going to have the time to like spend getting it from $8 million to $2 million. The attorneys, the attorneys are already on staff. So it's not like VHT probably had to go hire attorneys for this.
For 6 years.
So the $2 million.
You think they even had the same attorney for 6 years? They probably didn't have the same attorney for 6 years.
Yeah, maybe the attorney stayed on the case, but they're gonna get a lot of that money or a good chunk of that $2 million for spending 6 years on the case. But here's what happened.
We should try to interview them. I wonder what their purpose was. Was it to go after Zillow, or was it the money?
Well, they alleged that the listing giant had ripped off its intellectual property by illegally using its photos on its home improvement webpage, Zillow Digs.
Okay.
So that was really...
Is Zillow Digs even around anymore?
I don't know, Bobby. Look up Zillow Digs. See if it is still around.
I never even heard of it.
Zillow Digs was showcasing these home improvements. It was their HGTV portion of their website, if you will. Mm-hmm. At the time, VHT counted more than 75,000 real estate professionals nationwide among its customers.
Wow.
But the amount of, it's a lot of customers.
So many. So what were they, just like mass?
So Zillow was saying, well, hey,
so they're kind of like a Planomatic? Like VHT was like a Planomatic?
Yeah, I would assume so. I don't know VHT like I know Planomatic, but I would assume it's similar.
75,000 customers.
Yeah, a lot of customers, a lot of agents. So Zillow Digs looks like it's archived, so it's not, they're not utilizing it right now. So Zillow was saying, hey, through all of our, their claim was through all of our partnerships and brokers, we use the proper, photography and all of that. But it was thousands and thousands of photos. It was 2,700 photos that they infringed on was one number. Then this kept changing through the years on the courts. At one time, it was 3,373 photos, and originally it was 28,000 of VHT's images. So there's all these numbers that they were working through. The VHT was making claims. Zillow was doing all these appeals. Eventually, it got to the Ninth Circuit appeal, and that's where they came up with this $2 million. It was a favorable decision for Zillow, it looks like, in the end, because VHT was originally
$200 for each image.
Photo, statutory damages for each innocently infringed. There's all these different numbers. I'm not going to bore you with the numbers.
Oh, it wasn't even 2 million. 1.927.
Yeah, so under 2 million.
Yeah.
And they got a certain amount for each photo. VHT originally awarded 8 million, ends up with less than 2 6 years later.
Holy crow.
I don't think it was worth the time. Maybe it was to them. They would be the only ones that could answer that. There's still like one final appeal they could do, even though Zillow's headline says it concludes, but they've got 30 days to do that. Both sides could appeal. Zillow's not going to appeal because they're quoted in here saying this was favorable to them.
Yeah.
But it does, you start looking at, I save a bunch of TikToks, and sometimes I go on there and they're no longer available. Their sound is no longer available because then there was a copyright change on the sound. Like you see a whole bunch of people right now dropping off of Spotify, right? Because they're upset about Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
The Washington Post has got everyone's panties in a bunch about Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I love it.
You love that?
Well, I just like that you said panties in a bunch.
Panties in a bunch there. So
say it again.
No. So the minute somebody decides to take their song off of TikTok or Instagram, and you had a reel up, and people go, then they're back like watching your stuff. Now they can't hear that sound, which is why I never post really anything ever on Instagram Reels or TikTok with a sound. I just want it to be my voice because I want it to last. But obviously, I'm giving up the opportunity to potentially go viral.
Okay.
Because those songs really help, with the trends.
Yep.
So there's copywriting going on there, listing videos, whatever. Obviously, photography. It's been a big thing with agents and these listing photo companies, the photography companies, because they may expire a listing, and then you see the other agent list the house,
with
and
the
it's your photos.
And the photographer's like, they're my photos. I'm allowed to sell them. And I'm like, what? Then give me my money back. Give me my money back.
So if you're an agent and you don't want that to happen to you.
You didn't even have the ability to get into a house if it wasn't because of me.
Of course, but they own the photos. Right. Bobby's smiling because he's probably on the side of the, the creatives, the photography companies.
Yes.
But being a creative that he is.
But then the photographer's doubling down. I don't know. That's where it's hard.
Beginner photographers don't put anything in writing, right? Some of them. They're just taking photos, and then it's up for dispute. The photography companies, like VHT or Planomatic, who we mentioned, or somebody who's big in your local market, they're having you sign a contract most likely. And in that contract, it does state somewhere that they own the photography. They own all of those digital assets, whether it be the floor plans, the video, the photos. And so if you don't want them to own that, you need to negotiate that up front.
Right.
Get it in writing where only you own that photography, and you're likely going to pay a higher fee. Sometimes they'll just give you full ownership for a year, and then it expires.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways you can do it, but you need to be aware of that as an agent going in. Zillow obviously got themselves in. You're not going to get yourselves in hot water like Zillow, I don't believe, but you don't want to come up with where you're upset that this other agent listed with your photos.
Well, again, but it sounds like what they were doing was like they were literally ripping these photos
and using it as promotion on Zillow.
Yes. I mean, this is different than another agent using, because how many times have agents even used your photos and put like under contract because they brought the buyer?
Right.
I mean, they should really be asking your permission in that situation.
Well, in that case, when it's on the MLS, you can technically do that. Right, you need to source it.
You should source it, or at least ask. I would.
But technically, if they've clicked off, like it can go onto other websites, so it can go on to Redfin. It can go. You can use that photo, but you got to source.
I still would ask the agent.
It's all over the internet.
I mean, it's such a small community. You should be asking permission.
The unwritten rule, is to do that for sure. So in the comments, what are your thoughts? Has this happened to you? And who owns your photos? The listing photography company, or do you own them? Hey guys, if you enjoyed this short clip from The Real World, click here for another one.
Or if you like the full episode, click here.